Mr. Robot, suddenly being a big player on the award scene, we want to get your perspective on it. We're here with Rob LaCuria, senior editor at Gold Derby, and I'm Tom O'Neill. Uh, I have my theories as to why this show really took off this year. I want to know what you think. I mean, what is it that suddenly spawned this cult around the show?
The show, it struck a nerve with people. Just I don't know what everybody's yearning for, but it's something, and they could identify with this cause. This, I think, unlikely hero in these times is something people wanted to connect to and were ready for. And the show offered, I think, a large amount of many characters who were on the fringes of society trying to find their way in. And I think that's something people just got charged by.
Yeah. Rob, what's your theory? Let me ask you as a question.
You don't like that one?
No, I think that's good.
I think it shows that there's a little bit of crazy in all of us that this show is tapping into. Give us your thought.
Yeah, I think so too. There's so many themes that the show explores, and a little bit of crazy in everybody is a good one. But also, it does explore the whole how technology and social media have really taken over a lot of our lives, and that's how we connect. A lot of people do feel very alone, and they connect through social media, and this show maybe taps into that as well. It taps into this Elliot guy who is really quite challenged, and yet he's also very brilliant at what he does, and so maybe people really do tend to gravitate to a story like that. I don't know. We could talk about this for hours.
No, I mean, we talk about it on set quite a bit too. We wonder if people are going to get turned off by technology by the end of the show.
Yeah.
It does ask you if you're connected or if you're disconnected. Is this world that you live on, that we all live on, that we're doing right now, sitting behind a monitor? I mean, is this bridging us, or is this driving us even further apart?
Why does Elliot so easily join the conspiracy? I buy it. I understand in my head why he does that, but it's not fully explained, is it? Or does it need to be in the show?
The conspiracy, why
does he join the rebels there? Why does he buy that immediately, almost crossover? There's not a whole lot of hesitation, is there? Or do you disagree with that?
No. I think for years he's been searching for something like this, and I think there's a moment where it can't believe it hit him right in the face, smack in the face, and it's clear as day he needs to do this, and I think he knows that he might compromise some of his his moral center in a way, might diverge from where it usually is, but he knows he has to do this, and it's a moment where I think an opportunity presents itself, and it's a bit too enticing. And Christian Slater's character is very enticing as well. I mean, this audacious plan to do what he's doing is, I mean, the fact that he can almost seem to make it plausible. I understand why Elliot wants to join.
Yeah, and with so much that's going on in the world in terms of hacking, Ashley Madison, which was referenced in the show, and the Sony hack, which happened probably towards the beginning of when the show was being made, and the hack for the Anonymous's hack of ISIS. Is all of that stuff more interesting to you now? Are you more paranoid about it, given that you play this character who does that type of thing on the show?
There was a scene in the pilot where I had been kind of, I'd been doing my detective work on this guy, Michael Hansen, over the computer, and I discovered everything about him, and I realized, he's doing a disservice to my therapist who he was dating, because he was married and leading her down this rabbit hole. And I went in person as Elliot, and I told him, I know everything about you. I know who you're dating. I know you date underage girls. I thought one of them that I was saying in the pilot was just Ashley Madison. I thought it was just another girl. And then the hack happened, I don't know how many episodes later, and I go, Ashley Madison, why does that sound so familiar? Oh yeah, that was the name of that girl who I thought was just a girl, but it ended up being a website. So it astonishes me how well Sam Esmail, our brilliant creator, can foresee the future in a way, but that's also just as troubling. So yes, I am more in tune with all of these things now. Anonymous, ISIS, all of it. It's scary.
The real fun of the show are the shifting alliances. You don't know who to root for in this show as a viewer, and then as it shifts, it takes you on this, of course, great emotional journey, but you also don't know what's real and not real, of course. How much of that did you know as you started, or did they just kind of give you scripts as you went along?
No, I asked for everything in advance. He asked me, Sam said to you, are you an actor that wants to know or wants to be surprised? Which I think is funny. I want to know everything. I can act surprised, Sam. But yeah, there were actors on the show who did not have the heads up on everything. So the most interesting time is during the table reads when you look on someone's face and you can tell that they weren't abreast of what was going to happen in that moment, and the shock value before like episode 5 or 8 or 10 is it's its own piece of entertainment.
Well, you could have seen my face watching this thing too.
Oh,
what
no.
the F is going? Oh my
God!
And I'll tell you what's really. It's like a good horror movie, Rami, and that is when those twists happen. You go, oh, I should have seen that coming, like the pier scene when you get sent off the pier. Damn it! Oh my God! And the reveals as they go on, it's it's really gratifying the way it's structured.
He did it in a way he almost wanted you to pick up certain things, maybe not pick up everything, but I think Sam was fine with you knowing everything the whole way and being a part of it in that sense. After we get off, he's actually gonna call me and he's gonna deliver everything he knows about season 2 into my ears. So
okay, well then I want you to call me and tell me after that.
Do we stay on the line?
You know the scene right near the end of season 1, the scene where your sister is saying, now Elliot, take your medications, and I have this whole theory, and I'm sure I may be on my own planet with this, but that she's not really the sister, and that those medications are being that crazy is being induced. What do you think of that?
Oh, that crazy is I haven't heard that one yet. There's a lot of theories out there. I'll run that one by him. I don't necessarily buy into that one, but I'll ask him if that's something.
But then why? All right, I'm going to make you paranoid now. Then why does your sister keep saying take your medication? And it's kind of like a punched underscore moment on the show. Anyway, Rob, what do you think?
Good. Hey, I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to ask him.
Okay.
You know what? Rami, yesterday we spoke to Christian, and he said, I just got off the phone with Sam, and he just blew my mind, and I can't believe it. And I said, then later on I said, if you had a question for Rami, given that we're talking to him tomorrow, what would you ask him? And he just said, you just got to say to him, have you spoken to Sam yet? Because he's going to be very, very, very blown away. So there you go.
So Christian's already got it. That's what.
Yeah, he's got it.
I was doing this film in Montana called Buster's Malheart, and Sam called me a couple weeks ago. He goes, "Are you ready?" And I go, "Ready for what?" He goes, "I'm going to tell you everything." And I said, "No effing way." My head was in another planet. I'm like, I will stop working on this movie, essentially, and just think about what happens to Elliot for the next 2 weeks we were shooting. So.
Yeah.
And then what's the shooting plan? When do you go back into production?
He's told me that it's going to be somewhere around the beginning of 2016, so fairly soon. Yeah. And it's pretty exciting. We've only been away from it for a short while, but Christian and I both went and we did some separate stuff, but I remember we texted each other and he's like, "Are you ready to come back to the thing?" And I go, "I'm very ready, very ready." And we were both working on phenomenal projects, but that's just how good this one is.
Yeah. You know what? Going back to discovering this show and why people gravitated towards it, when it first started, a lot of us expected it to be a really cool show on USA that we would enjoy. It would have some really cool elements and themes, but it just became so much more. Like, it's so cinematic in the way that it's shot and in the way that it's scored. It's one of the best things about it. And then the reveals happened, and we kind of knew that they were coming, but then we kind of second-guessed ourselves because it was taking a while, and then we got a really big one in episode 8, and then we got another one in episode 9, and then we got more in episode 10. It was just like, oh my God, this is doing my head in. I'm wondering what kind of feedback and reactions you were getting while it was airing over those few weeks.
You know, I didn't tell many people about, I didn't tell anyone actually what was, we would talk amongst the cast about, the people who did know things, but I remember watching it. I have a twin brother, and I'd sometimes, sit down and watch things while he was watching them, as everybody else was. And just to see his eyes light up and the whole reaction on his face, he's a very critical viewer of my performance, but of, the shows as a whole. So he saw it as being exactly the same way, from the score to the lighting, very cinematic. But then the reveals, he's just like, he looked at me like, why didn't you say anything? You could have told me.
You've hurt me.
I'm your brother. I'm not going to tell anyone. But it was enjoyable to watch him kind of squirm through it as well.
Go ahead, Rob. Do you have another question?
Yeah, all right, so I've got lots. We could be here all day, so just get comfy.
I will say this, sorry to cut you off, but that is one of the most enjoyable things about this is the collaboration of our DP, Todd Campbell, and our composer, Matt Quayle, with Sam, and the acting, and everybody from the makeup artist to the prop department. The attention to detail is more specific than 90% of things I've worked on, and that makes all the difference. It makes it for this uniquely visceral experience that I think people are just taken aback by.
Yeah, that's what I'm really that's what I'm so impressed by, because when I was rewatching some of the episodes over the last few weeks, I was noticing little touches that were being made to the way that a shot was set up. When the executive from E Corp shoots himself, on camera, that was obviously a scene where USA decided to put the episode off for a week, given what had happened in Virginia. But the way that was shot was it was done like so on purpose, and it was just all those little touches that many of us have really gravitated towards because we appreciate that extra level of detail that you may not get on other shows. So yeah. I was going to ask you though, you record a lot of internal dialogue, and you've probably talked about this a lot before in other interviews, but it's just fascinating for people who haven't really heard how that's done. Talk us through the voiceovers and then how you use them while you're performing particular scenes.
Well, on the pilot, I ended up I had the script with enough time to learn all of the voiceover beforehand, which got to be a bit nauseating, but it was very helpful because no one had to listen to it. It was all something that I had in my ear through an earwig if I wanted it, but for the most part, I had it in my head. Now, when it came time for Sam and the director Nils Ardenoplev on the pilot, they wanted to time it, so they asked me if instead of just listening to myself in my own head silently say it, could they talk it through? So Sam was the first voice in my head, which he already was omnipresent in a way, so that didn't work. And I said, Sam, I looked into the lens of the camera, and I go, Sam, it's not going to work. So we needed to find another voice, and I started basically auditioning PAs to, go through this hearing aid and see who sounded right. And, after a couple of guys, I quickly realized I wanted a female voice, and I had this lovely PA named Sarah Block. And I looked at her and I said, how do you feel about being the voice in Elliot's head? And she kind of smiled, and that was it. So from then on, I would rehearse with her maybe a little bit beforehand, the pace at which I wanted it to go, and let her rip through my ear. And it's really cool to have it that way because people just don't know how to react. It's very difficult for the other actors to react to that because it's only something I hear and the director can hear it piped in through the contacts that they wear. But otherwise, it really makes it awkward for the other actor, and I've found ways to kind of cue them visually as to when their lines are, which is a lot of fun as well. But it's crazy. One time in Times Square, I told her there was a moment where I was going to hear Christian's voice in my head as Mr. Robot, and so to make it a different kind of reflection visually on camera, I asked her to yell in my ear, and she ended up yelling pretty hard, and I took the earwig out, this ear device, and it was covered in blood, and I go, all right, Sarah, maybe
Okay.
Hey, what's the craziest thing or theories you've heard from fans? Because I was reading online over the last few days, and it's what you're about to learn from Sam in this phone call is, for example, his solution to, I mean, spoilers here if anybody hasn't seen the show, so just jump over this part, but the big problem you have with the plot structure right now is, all right, if Elliot, if Christian Slater is your father, and if he's dead, then how does he interact with the other characters that you see? That's logically something that cannot be surmounted. And Sam's been telling everybody, and I saw him last week, and he said, it's coming, how to explain that. And he's got a resolution to it. So a lot of people are out there with kooky theories on the internet saying, oh, here's what I think is going to happen, here's what I think is. What's the craziest thing you've heard about where this whole thing could go? From fans or something?
Someone the other day just told me that they think my sister is purposefully trying to drug me.
Great, that's mental.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
Really? Oh my God.
I think there's this idea that it's not even, who knows whose story it is. I always ask Sam, I go, what if this ends up being Angela's story? And somehow it's, this is just one part of it, and you're really keeping stuff from everybody. And, that's not even out of the realm of possibility. So if you begin to entertain one of these ideas, you just get lost in them. And I think the story loses a little bit of steam, but I think people are having fun doing that. Making up their own ideas as to who everybody is. I mean, I love that people think I'm Tyrell, and it's just it's mind blowing.
Rob, let this be the last question, and we'll wrap it up here. Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to think of a good one then. We asked fans on Twitter to provide us with some questions that we would pick to ask you. So I'll pick the best one, and it's probably something that a lot of people wanted to know, and that was just about Elliot's mental illness and about how you portray it and how important it is to a lot of people and how real it feels and how they really connect with it. So I'm just talk us through how you got into that mindset and how important it was for you to portray that dissociative disorder and all these other illnesses in a really positive or perhaps in a really realistic light.
That was of the utmost importance to me. It was a show that got delivered to me as this hacking story, but before all of that, it's a story about how we connect as humans and how difficult it can be for some people like Elliot to connect and what the trappings of that are. And so I just wanted to, I hate when things are just not performed accurately in terms of struggles that people have, like mental illness. And so I read as many things as I could. I read a couple good books, one on bipolar and one on schizophrenia, and they were both fascinating. And then I just kept reading about the common thread that a lot of these mental illnesses have with one another, and looked at a lot of TED Talks, and it all helped. And then I started talking to people who, were dealing with these issues, have dealt with these issues, and then I took it even a step further and brought on a psychologist named Jenny Morey, and she talked me through so many different things, and I just tried to hone in exactly what I felt Elliot was going through. And I'd bring it back to Sam, and Sam and I would talk quite a bit, and he goes, "This sounds pretty astute. Where are you getting all of this?" And I told him, I said, "I've been talking to a psychologist." I told him exactly what I told you, and then he started talking to this psychologist, and after a few phone calls, they finally ended up hiring her. So that was huge for the show. That allowed us to do everything, you know, with a backbone, and know that when we were going into it, we weren't, you know, we were going to stand up for people who maybe have, you know, not had their portrayal been accurate in the past. So that's one thing I'm most proud of about the show.
Well, you've got me and Rob hooked in, and let's hope a lot of award voters in the next few months here. Good luck to you, Rami. Thanks for chatting with us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's great to even be in the conversation. Thank you for having me, both of you.
You bet.